Democrats have criticized the speed at which this proposal moved through the legislature last week. One of those lawmakers is Representative LaKeshia Myers. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. So before we get into the process of passing this legislation over the last week, let me ask you this. You were one of the few Democrats who approved of the original redistricting plan that would make changes to how the process plays out in Wisconsin back in the fall. What is your feeling on how this week the Senate amended that plan to then just essentially be new maps?
I believe it was an abandonment of the process. It was not done in earnest. When I originally voted in favor of the redistricting plan, that was for us to create a process, for us to actually do the work of the legislature and collaborate and come up with a process to arrive at new maps. We've not yet done that. There's not been any collaboration in earnest with both sides. There have been letters, and this is all reported in the Journal Sentinel. We presented as legislative Democrats the letters that have been written to the Speaker's office, the responses that we've received. They were not in favor of, public hearings, all of those things. So looking at those items together, there was not ever an arrival of a consensus on both sides to get us to the point of actually even drawing a map. And to come up at the 11th hour with a revised, if you will, version of maps that, for us to vote on and give the timetable of, well, we need to do this now. We were able to, as a caucus, buy more time, I think, and go through rounds and rounds of discussion about that process and try to come up with some alternatives. But this was the plan that was presented, and we said no at this point.
There is a tight deadline to get new maps February 1st. The consultants will either pick a map or present their plan if they have one. March 15th, the Wisconsin Elections Commission says those maps have to be in place. Do you think the legislature could have gone through a process like that in time? There's some argument that there wasn't time. You think so?
No, I think it was time. We take the time to do what it is that are our priorities. This is an issue whereby neither side, is wanting to give in that respect to actually bend. And I think this is more so the onus of the party that is in control. When you look at the fact that we already know we have to have new maps, they're going to arrive. Either they're going to be given to us by the court and the experts that they have hired, or we have the ability to draw maps that are effective, that make sure that they honor the Voting Rights Act, do all of the things that we have, raised hell for over all of these years. We have the ability to do that in a collaborative fashion, and that's what the people want to see. But yet and still, that level of collaboration is not what's happening. And I think that's a leadership issue, and I think that is something that you have to take ownership with if you are in the GOP.
Governor Evers posted to X, the social media site, this week about his decision to veto those maps, saying, quote, moving legislative district lines so GOP gerrymandered incumbents get to keep their seats is just more gerrymandering. Do you agree that the governor should veto the maps because they aren't the ones he proposed?
I think that he should veto the maps because there's a process that's in place. The governor is one of the plaintiffs, if you will, in that process. So he had the ability to present a map, and he did that. I think the legislative Republicans had the ability to present maps, and they did that as well. What we're talking about is two separate things. The legislature, as in the combined body of 99 people and 33 senators, have the ability to come together to come up with a process by which to arrive at a map. That has not been done, and the public needs to understand that that has not been done in earnest. Factions of groups in the legislature have done that. You have the Assembly, the Senate Democrats that created a map because they were plaintiffs in the case. You have the Assembly Republicans that have created a map because they had the ability to do that. Not together. It has not happened as a legislative effort to do that. So the governor was a part of the process because he has a lawyer. He has folks that drew maps for him in that particular process. His map has been presented to the court. They're deliberating on that particular map. So I think we're at a different stage in this particular instance. It's not about whether you just pick a map, any map, and then say, oh, let's change a few lines and say, oh, look, we did something. That's not being honest. That's disingenuous to the process.
Okay. Representative Myers, thank you so much for taking some time to be with us this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you again.